Salam mofos, welcome to another episode of Happy Doomsday. So glad to be back. We've got a lot to get through today. But first, just let me say, I'm so grateful to anyone that has clicked on this video, anyone that has seen a previous episode or any other video of mine. I really do appreciate it. I'm enjoying this so much, and hopefully you get to stick with me on this journey. If you are the type of person that loves to talk about movies, even if it is with some strange British kid on the internet, then by all means this is the place for you. We don't do toxicity. Well, we kind of do toxicity, but in a fun way. But we are not dealing with any crap where the movie sort of fandom is going, how the online space with movies and fans is right now. We are trying to stay as far away from that as possible and have this fun community, and I hope you are able to join. If you are able to join, click that subscribe button because I would appreciate it so much. We have a certain stoner writing and directing a R-rated animated Venom movie, and no, unfortunately it's not me, but we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about a certain Marvel actress hopping over to the dinosaur side of things, the dinosaur franchises. We are also talking Roadhouse, we are talking Ryan Coogler and Prince, and a bunch more. So please do stick with us today. Okay, let's get to the first topic, shall we? Okay, this is coming from comicbookmovie.com. Sony's rumored Venom animated movie has reportedly enlisted the boys' Seth Rogen as writer-producer. Exciting news for fans of Marvel. Lethal Protector today, as a new rumor suggests Sony Pictures Animation is eyeing Seth Rogen as writer and producer for its upcoming Venom project. There have been rumblings for a while that Sony Pictures Animation is developing an animated Venom. And now we have a significant update courtesy of Scuba Can We Get Toast via Tanudu.com. I've never heard of Tunadu.com. That sounds so booky. Anyways, apparently Sony has managed to enlist Seth Rogen as a writer and producer on the supposed R-rated project. The actor is no stranger to adult-focused comic book adaptations after serving in those same roles on the likes of Preacher and The Boys. Rogen is also an executive producer on Prime Video's critically acclaimed Invincible, an animated series with an adult tone. The same could be said for The Boys' present Diabolical, another R-rated TV show. Rogen's sensibility would be a great match for a Venom project and would likely put a spin on the character that makes comic book fans happy. Okay, let's get back to it then, shall we? I'm a fan of this. I know a lot of people online. I'm not crazy. There's been this recent sort of like, let's just shit on Seth Rogen, like screw Seth Rogen, and we're just forgetting about the guy that's given us laughs growing up throughout our whole adolescence, throughout our whole childhood. Are we just gonna like drop him on the sidewalk like that? We can't do that. So sort of just let's go through the positives before we go to the negatives about sort of Seth Rogen doing a Venom movie. Firstly, I want to talk about his sort of track record with comic book adaptations. We have The Boys, which probably is the biggest show on TV, maybe bar Game of Thrones, but other than that, I could definitely like make the argument that The Boys is probably the biggest show on TV. Definitely a water cooler moment when it is on. So you've got The Boys. Preacher, which was so underrated, such a great television show. I loved Preacher, especially that sort of first 2 seasons of Preacher. Then we've got Invincible. Again, another water cooler show where literally everyone's, if they weren't getting like sort of screwed over by Amazon Prime with that sort of huge break in the middle, it would have been another huge sort of moment this year. It still was with the break, but not as much as I sort of thought it could be. And we also have Gen V, the spin-off from the Boys. So he's been successful when it comes to comic book adaptations. There's a common through line that throughout all of these adaptations, he's allowing them to be the best versions of themselves. He's allowing them to be authentically The Boys. He's allowing it to be authentically the Invincible, Preacher, whether it's sort of having an asshole as a mouth in Preacher, or a dad literally running his son's face through a train, or if it's sort of dying from being sat on, you know, someone's sitting on your face and then you die. Probably not the worst way to go, let's be real. But it just shows that the dude's not afraid to push the limit of an adaptation, but still keep within that sort of respect of what the source material was, and sort of still be able to push the boundaries within that. I literally my thing is as well is that he is so successful when it comes to the animated stuff and the computer generated films. His top 5 grossing movies of all time are all animated or computer generated. Monsters vs. Aliens grossed 382 million at the box office. Kung Fu Panda grossed 632 million. Kung Fu Panda 2, the sequel, grossed 665 million. Super Mario grossed 1.4 billion. And then his highest grossing film is the computer generated Lion King. So Seth Rogen, an animated / computer generated, so we can throw the Lion King in there, breeds success. Okay, the less we talk about the Green Hornet, the better. He's already done an animated an R-rated animated flick for the big screen and in Sausage Party, and loads of people loved that movie. I really liked it. I didn't think it was sort of hitting my expectations. That might be just because I'm a big fan of his and I sort of thought the world when I saw the trailer and really didn't get that, but I still enjoyed the movie. But just to say that he's already been in this sort of park before, like outside of in the R-rated Invincible, he's done it on the big screen before. He's an incredible writer. Like, above all, Seth Rogen's probably his biggest strength is writing, whether it's Bad Neighbors, Sausage Party, This Is the End, Pineapple Express, episodes of The League, episodes of The Simpsons, Superbad. The dude has a great resume when it comes to writing. 40-Year-Old Virgin, he's been in the writers' room for Freaks and Geeks. Like, he has credibility. My only two, like, not like negatives, more worries, more trepidation, do you know what I mean, is I hope they don't do the exact animation style they do for Across the Spider-Verse as they do for Venom. I love the animation style for Across the Spider-Verse, don't get me wrong, but that works for Miles and Miles' world and that story. And it's the perfect adaptation of what a comic book strip in that world looks like. I would love an sort of adaptation of what a comic book strip looks like in Venom's world, but it doesn't have to look exactly the same as the Across the Spider-Verse animation. Let's do a throwback to sort of that old school sort of Todd McFarlane look with the sort of watercolors a bit dripping down. Oh, I think that would look brilliant. That would look so good. And it could just sort of be a great sort of juxtaposition, a little difference from that sort of Miles take. And I hope we get that. And like the people that are hating, like as long as we don't get like Eddie Brock or Flash Thompson, whoever they go with to be Venom, as long as we don't get them sort of smoking a bong and making dick jokes, we'll probably be okay. We'll probably be okay. So I'm very much excited about Seth Rogen doing a R-rated animated Venom movie. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited? Are you not excited? Are you in the middle? Neutral? Let me know. Let me know. Next up, we are reviewing Roadhouse, the Doug Liman remake of the Patrick Swayze 80s classic. Now, this has not gotten theatrical release. It was dropped on Amazon, much to Doug Liman's dismay. But we're going to talk about it. Actually, before we talk about it, I've dropped a review for the Frozen Empire Ghostbusters, so check that out on the channel. And I did it in a short format. I'm doing this in a long format because I also have a little topic to segue into as well. But let me know if you sort of enjoy the long format reviews or the short format reviews. I'd love doing both. I don't mind doing both, but it's up to you guys. It's up to you guys. Obviously, if I don't get a response in particular to this question, I'll just judge it on the metrics and how well they perform. But I'll probably ride it out and sort of play it by ear, see how each each method, each format goes, just so as I sort of try and find my place in this sort of online movie space. But yeah, Roadhouse, we've had sort of two different like varying opinions, and they feel like they're on two opposite sides of the spectrum. We've got the guy that's in his 40s who loved the original back in the 80s. Most of the movies they rewatch are from the 80s. And then we have the new viewer who probably expected a certain thing from this movie and just didn't like it. Or maybe they just didn't like it and they had no expectations and they just didn't like it. That's also a possibility. I'm sort of closer to this side. I'm not in the middle. I don't think it's awful at all. I'm not obsessed with it and think it's great like a lot of people are sort of proclaiming that sentiment. I'm more sort of 65, I would say, all the way there. It's a fun ride. It's a fun movie. You're gonna have fun watching this. Whether or not you take much from it, that's up to you. But I enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is insanely good. Like, you believe every time he's on screen, you believe like, oh yeah, you're probably the toughest guy in the room. Not because I think Jake Gyllenhaal is tough, but I think Duncan is tough, and he did that so well. The action choreography is brilliant. Like, no one's like, it just felt like you're like, you feel every hit, like whether it's coming from a Connor, or whether it's coming from Jake or whoever, or the guy from the bar, that the guy that sucked the hotel manager's dick in White Lotus. I forgot the actor's name, but you know what I'm talking about. I felt it. Whether it's also that sort of feeling like you're on the island with the, like, I love how like they built up, like it felt lived in a little bit, because they've got that barricades in front of this like sort of like New Orleans type of music going on. Whether, even though they were sort of covering Sublime, but it's fun that they had that sort of element there to prove that, like, oh, there's probably happened incidents before where people sort of try to get to the artists, and we've had people try and do it. So stuff like that I really enjoy seeing in movies. It just proves that, oh, they sort of, there was a level, at least a certain level of care. Do you know what I mean? At least a certain level of care. And it was exactly how you should do an 80s throwback, in terms of capturing the essence of the 80s, that coked up madness that was the 1980s, and doing it with its modern spin, and doing it with your own take. You know what it reminds me of like a sort of Lisa Frankenstein. They're nowhere near like the same like type of movie. They're probably not the same demographic at all, but the way they did that sort of 80s throwback rom-com and sort of horror like element is similar to how they did the throwback 80s Roadhouse action vibes. Like, it felt like they did it well. They did it in sense of like, let's keep sort of that, the essence of the 80s and things we liked about it, and then let's build on some things that might not work for this era. A lot like sort of the animation for the X-Men series, for example. But the sort of things that I didn't really like, it's like a lot of it didn't make sense. There are a lot of moments where I'm like, no human being would ever do this. Like, no human being would react this way to this situation. There's that. There's also the fact that I just think Connor cannot act. He's got charisma for days, don't get me wrong, but like, and Doug Liman does well where it's like, make use of him when you can. Make sure you shine his strengths and hide his weaknesses, which you should do with all like subpart actors, and I think he's done that well. But it's still not enough to like not show how weak Connor is as an actor, but he's charismatic as hell. So if you want Conor McGregor in a movie, this is the movie that he should be in. Like, if you're gonna sort of have to like take the crappy acting, but you get the like, I'm Conor fucking McGregor, like, come on and fight with me, eh? Like, you got all of that, like the Conor like essence, and that's probably the note Doug Liman told him. He's like, listen, bro, just be as Conor and as Irish as you can, and just go for it. And it worked to a certain degree. It definitely did work to a certain degree, but again, you just feel like, when he's actually like trying to portray something, you're just like, but it doesn't take you out that much. I don't think it takes you out that much. And also, Post Malone will never be hard. Like, I'm a fan of Post. I like his music, but he's not the guy that I'm expecting to be like beating the crap out of like some 300-pound man, which is how they open this movie. I just don't buy it. I just really don't buy it. Anyways, so I wasn't too like upset with Roadhouse. Wasn't mad that I like used up 2 hours of my time. It was a fun movie. A lot of glaring errors and sort of pacing issues and like just elements that just didn't make sense for that specific time and moment for the character, or that situation for the character. But overall, it's a fun ride. It's not like I wasn't bored at all, like I was sort of with Ghostbusters. And what I wanted to sort of lead this into is that, like, I just think Jake Gyllenhaal, especially after watching this, I get that same feeling that I did when I saw Robert Pattinson in Good Time, is where I'm just like, oh my god, this dude would be great as Batman. And I think Jake Gyllenhaal should be the DCU's Batman. without a shadow of a doubt, he needs to be the DCU's Batman. The dude is around the right age that we're going for Brave and the Bold. He's got the ability, because we're hearing a lot of sort of like Alan Richardson, who I like, Blue Mountain State, Titans, like the Turtle movies. He's a good actor. He's a good actor. Is he good enough to be Bruce and Batman? Probably not. Like, he's got that sort of physical presence for Batman, and I think he'd make a great Batman, but I don't see him being able to sort of play the line between Bruce and Batman, being able to play Bruce as well. I just don't think he's got the chops to do it. I also, whenever I in my Batman actors, I don't need some big bodybuilder. I'm with the sort of like, let's go with the Michael Keaton approach of let's try and just cast an actor that sort of makes me feel like he's crazy enough to build a Batcave and put on a costume and fight mentally ill people. Which is not all, that's not what Batman is about. Like, that's not all he's about. It might be a little bit, but there's a lot more philanthropy and all of that stuff that the movies don't really touch on as much. But I just think Jake would be great. He'd be great because he'd be so good at just playing this. Like, when I see him, especially in like Roadhouse, Nightcrawler, Zodiac, any performance, you just feel like there's something up with this dude. Like, there's something not right with this dude. He looks like he could snap any minute. But at the same time, he's got the suave and charisma of a Bruce. He's good looking, but he at the same time looks like he probably like would fit in very well in a mental institution. Like, and we wouldn't bat an eyelid. So I love that in my Batman. I want that in my Batman. There's like sad, like depressed actor that can relate to sad, depressed Bruce. So I just think Jake would be great. I think Jake would be great. Okay, next topic. We are moving on to, coming to us from The Hollywood Reporter. Ryan Coogler to produce Prince jukebox musical for Universal. The filmmaker, known for helming the Black Panther movies, also has a Warner Brothers feature set to hit theaters next year, which apparently is meant to be sort of like a period piece vampire movie with Michael B. Jordan. So yes, please. I'm so gassed for that. I love the fact that we get like these auteur directors that are able to sort of dip in and out of franchises. Like, he can do a Creed, he can do a sort of Black Panther, but of course he came to us like through Fruitvale Station, and now he's able to sort of step back out and do something like that sort of period piece, but then also work on something like a Prince movie. Ryan Coogler is in a purple state of mind as the filmmaker is working on a Prince-focused feature musical. Coogler is attached to produce an untitled jukebox musical of Prince songs for Universal Pictures. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. The project has been in development since 2018, hails from Proximity Media, and has a script by Brian Edward Hill. Producers include Coogler, Zinzi Coogler, and Sev Ohanian, and Universal Music Publishing Group Chair Jody Gerson. Proximity's Rebecca Chow is an executive producer. THR reported earlier this week that Coogler's forthcoming untitled Warner Bros. Feature that stars Michael B. Jordan is set for release on March 7, 2025, with the studio having landed the coveted project in February after a bidding war. The pair have a long professional history together, as Coogler previously directed Jordan in Fruitvale Station, Creed, and Black Panther, like I just mentioned. More recently, Coogler directed the 2022 Marvel sequel Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. His credit with working on the lyrics to Rihanna's song Lift Me Up from the film's soundtrack, with the track earning him an Oscar, Golden Globe, and Grammy nominations. Prince is a music icon. Couldn't agree more. Prince is a music icon for an array of hits, including When Doves Cry and Let's Go Crazy, Let's Get Nuts, or Kiss, and Bat Dance, of course, which all peaked at number 1 on the Billboard 100. His film credits include starring in Albert Magnoli's 1984 rock musical Purple Rain with Warner Brothers, a cult classic which picked up the Oscar for Best Original Score, hitting its 40th anniversary this July. Coogler's involvement in the Prince project was first reported by the newsletter The Insider. Of course it was. Of course it was, man. Man like Jeff is just killing it. He just gets everything, Jeff Schneider. He literally reports on everything. Okay, this sounds so fun. The fact that it's not a biopic, it's just movies, it's just sort of like a movie inspired on the music of Prince, and we're going to take we're going to take elements of it and we're going to use it into a whole new story and sort of see how it correlates. And because we've already got a semi-biographical thing with Purple Rain. I know it's not straight up biopic. I really don't think you can do a Prince biopic. I just don't know who could play Prince other than Dave Chappelle. But I don't know if I want a Prince biopic, but this is something I would be so down to see. This sounds so dope, especially with a Ryan Coogler at the helm. I know he's not directing just yet. They might announce that he directs eventually, but for now, let's go under the impression that he's just producing. I'd be so down for this. So down for this. It's a great way to honor Prince's memory because Prince, he's not the type that is probably obsessed with people doing covers of his music, so let alone somebody doing a cover of his whole life. So I don't think a music biopic is in particular an honor for Prince. I don't think that would be something he would have wanted, but this sounds like something that like a lot of people can enjoy and have no sort of like ill feeling or any regret or any guilt about watching, and feeling like, oh, I know the person who this is based off of would not approve of this, which I feel like a lot of biopics do, regardless of like, anyways. But making it just based on the music and its own story is such a fun idea, and I'm very, very excited to see how it goes. Okay, that was a quick one. Next topic. Got Entertainment Weekly. Timothée Chalamet takes New York as Bob Dylan in biopic set photos. Filming has begun on a complete unknown, like a rolling stone. The biopic, directed by Indiana Jones and Logan Helmer, James Mangold. The Bard has arrived. Photos of Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan have been popping up all over the place as the Wonka and Dune superstar films the biopic A Complete Unknown in New York City. This week, the actor was spotted again in character as the legendary folk music hitmaker at locations around the Big Apple. Chalamet was spotted in downtown Manhattan in a classic Dylan look: curly hair, sunglasses, black button-up, and brown jacket. Scenes were being shot around El Quixote, the restaurant inside the Hotel Chelsea, where Dylan notably found musical inspiration. Oh my god, he looks so good. He looks just like Bob Dylan. Like, he looks so good. Like, this is straight out of like the cover of Free Willin' Bob Dylan. Like, this is great. And I knew he'd do well. I knew he would like smash it. Like, Timothy's at this point where like he's just this generation's Leo. He really is. Like, he's able to hop in and out of like franchise blockbusters into like character driven Oscar bait movies. Like, the guy does it seamlessly, and he kills it when he does it, whether it's A Beautiful Boy, whether it's a Call Me By Your Name, if it's the sort of the blockbusters in Dune or Wonka. The guy can do it all and flawlessly. If you don't think like Timothée Chalamet isn't a good actor, and you just think he's this like overhyped, skinny, good looking kid, then you have not seen Dune 2. You have not seen the sort of switch that Paul goes through, and you believe that shit. And you believe, like, when Paul's like, silence, you're just, oh crap, that's Timothée Chalamet. Well, I know I could probably kick his ass, but like, I was still scared. So well done, Timothée Chalamet. Well done. And him as Bob Dylan just makes complete sense. Like, are you kidding? Like, he looked exactly like him. I'm not the biggest biopic fan. Like, I've made this known countless times already on the little time I've been on YouTube. I'm not the biggest biopic fan, but a Bob Dylan biopic makes sense. Bob Dylan, probably the greatest songwriter of all time. The dude is a legend, a living legend, and I know they're going to get into that sort of nitty-gritty of the 60s and the civil rights movement, and this 16-year-old boy from Minnesota being so vocal on a struggle that's not about him, and the ability of this like sort of 16-year-old white boy to speak on things that if other black artists were to speak on, they would have had mad consequences, whether it's like consequences like a Sam Cooke. But Bob Dylan was in the position of privilege to be able to speak, and he was able, and he did. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people have the privilege and don't use it to sort of platform the struggles of people that don't have the same privilege. And the fact that he was doing that in the 60s as a 17-year-old is insane. And the way he was doing it with tracks like Blowing in the Wind, and I'm like, how are you that young writing stuff like that? Like, how are you in your early 20s, late teens, writing absolute classics? Like, and even to this day, he talks about how, like, he has no idea how he did that. He has no idea how he's written that, and he just feels like it was a spirit kind of thing where it was just like written, and like it wasn't him writing it. It was just like that like energy of creativity coming through him, and it just sort of like reveals itself in these beautiful songs. So like, if we talk about his like relationship with Black America in the Civil War, in the civil rights movement, if we talk about who Bob was, this introverted, like isolated guy, and we also hit on the like his relationship with writing and his relationship with creativity, I think we're in for something special. We are also in for like a potential like Oscar bait. Oscar. I'm hearing Oscar bells for Timothy if he knocks this out of the park. If he knocks it out of the park, and I'd be intrigued also how he approaches the voice. So like, are we gonna make this an imitation? Are we gonna sort of really go for it, or are we gonna do it where it's like light touches and you know it's Bob, but you don't want to sort of be taken out of it too much? Like, are we going straight? It's Bob Dylan. Like, are we doing that? I hope we're not doing that. Rolling Stone. Like, I really hope we're not going full, like, just imitation. I hope he just sort of takes little notes and little brushes, but where you feel like, oh, I'm just into it and I'm watching Bob Dylan, as opposed to I'm seeing some dude impersonating Bob. Okay, next topic. Ooh, fun one. We are talking about a potential sequel to one of my favorites, Richard Linklater's School of Rock, written by Mike White. School of Rock 2 is under consideration by Jack Black. Well, I hope to fuck this happens. School of Rock may be back with Black. In an interview with Joe, Jack Black was asked about his 2003 hit film School of Rock. He raised hopes when he responded, "I'm ready." Oh, bro, we are all ready for a School of Rock 2. And the fact that it's 2024 and it's not in development yet, this is insane. Well, let's see if it might be now. I wish there'd be a School of Rock 2 Electric Boogaloo. Great title, he said, giving a shout out to the 1984 sequel Breakin', titled Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. For the uninitiated, in School of Rock, Black played Dewey Finn, a substitute teacher who enlists some misfit students to form a rock band. The film later inspired a Broadway musical adaptation. Also, there was also a show on Nickelodeon, I believe. Oh, I should not mention Nickelodeon in this climate. Moving on. Black has teased the sequel before, but has always backed away from his comments in later interviews. So fans shouldn't get his hopes too high. Any sequel would have to have the original Rock students assume the role of parents, since they are largely in their 30s now. And we've also sadly lost the drummer as well. He's sadly passed away, which would suck. But we should not do a School of Rock 2 if Mike White is not returning to write, and he might be a bit too busy with The White Lotus. So when The White Lotus is taking a break in production, because I don't want to end, I think he could do 12 seasons of that show. It's like, we're in Miami, White Lotus in France, White Lotus in England, White Lotus in Kenya, White Lotus in Thailand. Like, he could do endless ones, and I'd be there for every single season. But maybe during a break, like take a year or two break where you can just write School of Rock 2 for us. And also Richard Linklater needs to come back. So if those two elements are back, and obviously Jack would be back as well, then I'm all for this. I would not want them to make it without those three elements. If they are doing it without these three elements, it means best believe it's a cash grab. Best believe its intention is to ruin the first one, even though I'm a firm believer in, regardless of how bad the sequels are, regardless how bad the reboot is, you will have the original no matter what. So even if they do end up doing a School of Rock sequel and it sucks, which I hope if they do end up doing it doesn't suck, but say it does, let's suspend some disbelief and say, okay, we've greenlit a School of Rock sequel and it was doo-doo. I still got the first one. Like, I still got the first one to watch. So I'm okay with them doing it. I'm okay with them doing it, and hopefully they do it properly, and hopefully they sort of bring those elements that made it so fun. I don't know how you do it again plot wise. Like, is it like in the article they said maybe let's have the kids come back as parents, but where's the conflict there? Because the whole conflict of the first one was he got these prep school kids to be in a rock band, like as opposed to like playing in a choir, which all their like uppity parents would have wanted them to do, as opposed to be in Battle of the Bands. So if he's got like, if all of them kids now are parents and he's teaching their kids, surely their parents are already cool with the whole like being in School of Rock, because they were all in School of Rock previously. So if they do end up doing it, I'd be really intrigued to see how they go with it plot wise. It means that it's going to be something completely fresh, and I hope so. But I hope it still feels like School of Rock. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, make sure you have to pay ode to the drummer. That's a huge part of it. Okay, 2 more topics to go. Our last topic will be talking about the top 5 Batman villains that should have their own series similar to the Penguin. But before we get to that, we are going to, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson in talks to lead new Jurassic World movie. Excuse me. The future is on the fast track as it heads to July 2nd, 2025. You're joking. You're joking. Scarlett Johansson is taking a little bite out of a new blockbuster. Haha, I see what you did there, THR. The actor is in talks to join Universal's new Jurassic World movie, the Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. Universal is moving quickly on the film, which has a July 2nd, 2025 release date. Gareth Edwards is directing the new Jurassic World, which has a script from Jurassic Park scribe David Cobb. Edwards stepped into the role after David Leitch exited following a short attachment to the project. I was excited to see how David Leitch would take the Jurassic World sort of franchise, but having sort of Gareth Edwards after like Monarch and all of that is really exciting. I love Rogue One as well. Whether or not he directed that movie is still going to be Hollywood lore for a while. I don't think we're going to get an answer to that, of how much Gareth Edwards really did direct Rogue One, but hopefully a lot, because I love that movie. I really do. And so him coming to a sort of Jurassic World excites me. As somebody that's not really the biggest Jurassic Park fan, and not the biggest Jurassic Park fan in terms of like its sequels and its spin-offs or whatever, like I've never been crazy about any of them. And I didn't even bother seeing the sequel to the first Jurassic World, so like I might have to watch that before I watch this new ScarJo version. Back to the article though. The film returns Johansson to the world of franchises. She starred as Black Widow in a number of Marvel Studios movies, including the Avengers features, but unlike some co-stars in the superhero world, has no trouble breaking out in other projects. She's earned 2 Oscar noms for Marriage Story, ugh, I hated that movie, and Jojo Rabbit, great movie. She has a voice role in the upcoming animated feature Transformers 1, and has a big budget Apple feature co-starring Channing Tatum, also due out this year. The new Jurassic World film is the latest in the 30-year-old franchise, which began with Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. The 93 hit based on Michael Crichton's novel. It spawned the Spielberg-directed sequel, The Lost World, and Joe Johnston's Jurassic Park 3. Universal revived the franchise with the $1.67 billion grosser Jurassic World, which spawned sequels The Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard led the recent trilogy of films, which filmmaker Colin Trevorrow oversaw. Bless Colin Trevorrow. I haven't heard that name in a while. I think he gets such a bad rep because, like, Safety Not Guaranteed was a great movie, and obviously him like dropping out of Star Wars and all that stuff kind of, I think, affected his career a little bit. Anyways, yeah, cool. Scarlett Johansson's going to be in a Jurassic Park movie. All I would say to that is, like, hopefully they just don't keep her in heels the whole time like they did with Bryce Dallas Howard. How stupid was that? Just the whole time Bryce Dallas Howard was like, yeah. Oh, I also, maybe the way I saw Jurassic World didn't help. Like the environment I saw it in, because I remember I didn't see it in its initial release, but I saw it in cinema in Sudan, my lovely Sudan. And it was also, like, when I went to see it, it was like around the first time Sudan was getting sort of cinemas. And they weren't dropping movies that, like, the latest releases. That was not the case at all. But it was like maybe like 5-6 months after its release in Sudan they would show it. And I doubt they had the distribution rights as well. Like, not to bait out my beloved, but like it's definitely like somebody torrented the film and sort of put the projector on. Anyways, I'm watching Jurassic World, and in the middle of it, some dude in the middle of the bloody seats was just like, answered the phone call. He's like, huh? Anyone? Yeah? Hello? Hello? And then he's just looking back at the projection. It's like, bruh, do you not see I'm on the phone? Are you not going to like pause this thing? Like, hey, can you not pause this? And then me and my cousin are just like, what is wrong with this doofus? Like, leave the theater if you're going to do that. And oh my God, people with bad like cinema etiquette piss me off. Like, there is a special level in hell. If you take your shoes off and put them up on the seat in front of you and your bare feet, even if you do it without your bare feet, it's rude. But to do it with bare feet as well, oh my God, you deserve to be executed. You deserve to be executed and then have a certain level of hell just reserved for you lot and some child rapists. All you man just together. Idiots, you are. Idiots. Okay, moving on. Next topic. Obviously, with the release of the upcoming Penguin series coming out this year. Penguin series coming out this year. I don't know why I did that. Penguin series coming out this year on HBO Max. I thought, what other sort of Batman villains would be fun to do? Which other Batman villains would be fun to sort of have their own spin-off series? So, I'm going to go through 5 Batman villains that I feel like would have a fun sort of 8-episode miniseries like the Penguin, because I don't know if we're going to get more seasons. I hope we get more seasons because like it looks amazing, and if you haven't seen my trailer reaction, it's on the channel. Check the shorts. But if we say we do get more, say we don't get more seasons, then let's just do 8-episode arcs, 10-episode arcs of other sort of villains, and I hope we get more seasons. But what other sort of villains do you reckon should get that same treatment? Because I think there are a lot of Batman's got the best rogue gallery in the world, like bar none. Only person that kind of compares to Spider-Man, but even then, I still think it's Batman a little bit. So there are villains we haven't seen on the screen. There are villains we might have seen on the screen, but haven't done properly or haven't been given the justice they deserve. So let's go through some. Let's talk a little bit briefly about what we could maybe potentially see and what it could bring to a HBO series. And you guys let me know which ones you think out of my list sound like something you'd want to watch, or maybe if you guys got your own ideas, drop them in the comments, because I would love to have a look at sort of other villains I might have missed out on. First, I think they should do a Hugo Strange series where it's just like based on him and his day-to-day dealings in Arkham Asylum. Would be incredible. We kind of got a slight tease of what that could be in like the Gotham series. That for like those seasons where like Oswald is in prison and he's like interacting with Jerome, and then we get a little bit of Hugo Strange, and the actor playing Hugo Strange did a really good job. I just don't think they nailed the tone. It was very much like of the tone of Gotham, which Gotham's tone was very unique to the show Gotham and worked well for the show Gotham, but I don't want that tone ever again. Actually, no, I lie. I wouldn't mind that tone if it's a sort of applicable to the source material or the character if it suits. But I think if we go a little let's go a little more methodical, a little slower, a little darker with this. Like, let's really take our time to sort of understand Hugo Strange and what takes this person to like be able to spend all his time with these mental patients. What takes somebody to be able to like do really disgusting and unethical treatment and like experiments with these mental patients. Like we can have cameos from different Batman villains, hopefully sparingly, not overdone. Guys like sort of Dr. Crane, whether it's before he becomes Scarecrow, after he becomes Scarecrow, that could be fun. Think sort of Mindhunter, but a lot more unethical in their methods, and based inside Arkham Asylum. And Dave Bautista is Hugo Strange. Okay, up next, I think we should have a Mr. Freeze series. Oh my god, a Mr. Freeze series would be so fun. It'd be so like, it's about vengeance and revenge, vengeance, and I'm vengeance, and he's vengeance, and vengeance is meant to be big in this universe, so who's the most vengeful person out of the Batman villains? Well, I don't know if he's the most, but he's probably up there. It's Mr. Freeze, Dr. Victor Freeze. As a result of his wife's death, some people claim it's because of the company that pulled it's his wife's death, where his company pulled the plug on his wife. He in an attempt to save her. This crazy experiment, including like heat levels. The experiment went wrong, obviously, and it got to a point where his wife died, but he survived. But he was only able to survive if his body is kept under certain levels and conditions in terms of temperature. And he figures out a way to sort of keep himself constantly in the right temperature with this suit, and he's constantly like agitated, as you would if you're cold all the time. So like that element of like I need to take back what's rightfully mine, and that revenge plot against Batman, all of that could just be so fun. We haven't been taking Dr. Freeze seriously since we haven't gotten Dr. Freeze since bloody, I mean, we got him in Gotham a little bit, but since Batman and Robin, and that wasn't taken seriously. And I hope this is, because I think Victor Freeze is a great character and we haven't got much of him. There's rumors that Mark Strong might already be cast as Dr. Freeze in the Penguin show. That would be incredible. That would be incredible. He'd be amazing as Dr. Freeze. So Dr. Freeze is my second one. Third one, Ra's al Ghul. I know we've gotten a lot of adaptations and iterations of Ra's al Ghul, whether it's Gotham, Arrow, Batman Begins, like all the animated stuff, like loads of Ra's al Ghul. But I still feel like we could definitely do with Ra's al Ghul within a contained story with like the League of Assassins. Maybe it's a sort of origin story of how he becomes head of the demon. Like, I think that could be cool. It could be a little bit sort of like Succession, but like with assassins in like a faraway Middle Eastern island, because it's Middle Eastern, let's be real, like Ra's al Ghul, like the head of the demon. So I think that could be so fun. Hopefully they don't cast the Irish dude to play him. No hate, because Liam Neeson was a good Ra's al Ghul, but I just think that would be a really fun show. I think it would be a really fun show. Next up, Black Mask. I think Black Mask has the ability to be such a fun counterpiece to the Penguin. I think it could, obviously it's another gangster story, but I think it could be like a fun, like it could be a different vibe to the Penguin story. I think it could be a different sort of like energy in terms of like, because we can have that like Sopranos, like gritty gangster story in the Penguin, but I also think with Black Mask there's opportunity to have that, but we could also take it in a bit of like a sort of like Matthew Vaughn, Guy Ritchie sort of vein as well. I see that with a Black Mask. So yeah, number 4, Black Mask, and number 5, Clayface. I think everyone would love a Clayface adaptation. A actor down on his luck gains the ability to shapeshift. I just think I think Mysterio, but a lot. I think Mysterio meets Swamp Thing. That's the best way I can describe Clayface, and I think it would be so fun. A Guillermo del Toro Clayface. That's my thing. All right, that's the show for today, guys. Appreciate you joining me. I hope you had a good one. I had a good one. This was a fun one. If you enjoyed any of the topics, if you enjoyed the show as a whole, please make sure to drop a like for me. I would much appreciate it. And again, if I've hit 10 subscribers, and by the end of the year, I would love to be able to hit 100. That would be a great sort of target for me. So any person that hasn't yet subscribed, that has watched maybe more than one of my videos, please subscribe. It would mean a lot. It would really mean a lot. It just means that I get to do this for longer and longer and longer. Don't worry, you'll see my face consistently for a long ass time. But thank you for joining me today on Happy Doomsday. Salam, mofos.